Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial on the road to Ardacon. Yes, we are back with two lists in one whole video. And, well, there's a lot of models here that actually have a lot of crossover with other lists as well. So today we're going to be painting up the Grey Company, and we're going to be painting up the Army of the Dead, otherwise known as in the list, the Return of the King. So, what models do we have here? Firstly, they've all been primed in grey Seer, I will say. But what we have is we have the King of the Dead. There he is. We have his two Herald friends. There they are. And we also have a Warrior of the Dead with a banner. This is the metal one. It's chunky. You could probably kill a man with that. We have a Rider of the Dead as well. Another metal classic. That's very weighty. And then we have 10 plastic Warriors of the Dead. There we are, with various weapons and things like that. So that's the kind of one section of the video over there. So there's our our set of Army of the Dead miniatures. We then have the twin sons of Elrond. We have Elladan and Elrohir. These are the armoured versions of them. There they are. And, well, these now can also go into a Linden army to go with our other miniatures from the Rivendell. So the Rivendell warriors and things like that. And there they are on horseback as well. All four of them come together in a metal blister pack. So that's 4 more metal miniatures. It's a lot of metal. We do have the 3 hunters at long last. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one. These are the gorgeous plastic models of Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli, and they're just absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to get to these, and we keep up our Legolas streak for videos in MESBG land. We have Halbarad, captain of the Dunedain, I believe. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. And he has the banner of Arwen Evenstar right there as well. And then we have 12 Rangers of the North, all metal, all beautiful. So we've got 1 box of 6 Rangers of the North and 1 box of the Dunedain. So together we've got and at least we've got 6 different looking ones. But we'll be painting them all up very similarly to each other in various bits of green and brown, I'm sure, because this is MESBG and brown is a very popular colour, as well as green. So we're going to be getting all of this done in this video, and you should be able to then go on and use these miniatures in a bunch of other things. The 3 hunters appear in a lot of lists in MESBG. The Rangers of the North appear in things like Arnor lists as well, so they can also appear alongside the elves. So there's lots of kind of cool crossover here. The Army of the Dead have a couple of places they can go, like the Battle of Pelennor Fields and stuff like that as well. So these are just kind of really cool models that will unlock a lot more choices for us on our road to Ardacon. So we are going to start with the ghosts, and we'll probably do them all at once, more or less, and then we'll move on to the rest of it. I'm not sure what the order of operations is, but it's going to be a good one. So these are the 5 models we're going to be working on, and we're just going to do them all at the same time, because whilst there is a difference between the King of the Dead and the rest of them, it doesn't make sense to do him separately to these guys, because these are all pretty much the same, and then we're just going to add and embellish things over the top. So, a little different to how we normally do these videos, but there we go. So, we will focus on him mostly though, but then we will flip to things like the banners and stuff as and when we need to. So, the colour we're going to be using first, and we'll crash zoom just a little bit, there we go, and then we'll get it into focus. The colour we're going to be using first is a roughly 2 parts Briar Queen Chill to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix, and we're going to apply this over the top of the entirety of the king. Now he does obviously have his red robe, but we need this as a kind of spectral base, because when we come to apply different shades over the top, we're basically getting sort of the much faded version of the shade as it kind of should be. So red over the top of this will look slightly different as opposed to using quite a high impact red, or indeed doing like a red first and then applying this over the top. So you'll see what I mean once we get there. But for now, just get this all over the top, and then once that's done, we'll come back. So with all that Briar Queen Chill and Lahmian Medium applied and fully dry, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Targor Rageshade, and we're going to apply this over top of any metalwork that we want to kind of still have a bit of a different kind of vibe to it. So this is mostly going to be things like chainmail. We are going to also apply this, in the case of the King of the Dead, over the top of the sword, and we're going to apply this over the top of his crown as well. But when it comes to the sword, we're not going to kind of leave it over the top of the whole thing. So we're just going to apply a little bit of it over top of the cross guard on the pommel. Like so. And then over the blade, we just apply this like so. We can wash the brush, get rid of the water, and then just kind of wick off most of it. Like that. And like that. With all that Targor Rageshade applied, what we're then going to do is take some Athonian Camoshade, and we're going to apply this over the top of these kind of, well, I'm not sure what it is, but it's some form of armor for the King of the Dead. And we're also going to apply this kind of in a similar way we did with the Targor Rageshade on the sword. I'm going to apply this over top of the banners in a very similar way. So we take this Athonian Camoshade first. We'll apply this over top of these little bits here. There we go. However, for the banners, what we're going to do is a little bit of a blend type thing. So we're just going to throw this Athonian Camoshade over the top of the flag here, like that. Wash the brush, and then towards the bottom of the banner, we're just going to disturb it, fuss it and muss it. And get most of it off. Just like that sort of thing. Same thing on the back. Wash the brush. And then fuss it and muss it. Like that. And so with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Berserker Bloodshade. And we're going to apply this over top of, just on the King of the Dead, his red robes. So with that all done, what we now need to do is add a couple, well, 3 shades, 2 of which are mixes, 1 of which is not. So our 3 shades are Poxwalker, Coelia Greenshade, and Nuln Oil. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a 1-to-1 mix of Poxwalker and Lahmian Medium, a 1-to-1 mix of Coelia Greenshade and Lahmian Medium, but Nuln Oil we're not going to touch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of all the areas that we haven't already done. So I'm going to start here with some Poxwalker. And we're just going to apply this over the top, like so, of all the areas we haven't shaded, like so. And apply this like so. Like this. And ultimately it doesn't really matter if we get this on any of the areas we have done. It's all ghostly in the end. So there's our bit of Poxwalker. Then we're just going to go straight to the palette and grab some of that Coelia Greenshade and just come in here and add that at the same time. Like so. Just applying this over top of the Athonian Camoshade as well now, why not? There we go. Bit more Coelia Greenshade. Throw that in there. There we go. Like this. And then over the hair as well. We're then going to wash the brush and grab some Nuln Oil. And we just want 1 brush load of this basically. And we're just going to apply this over parts of the model where we've just shaded. So if we apply some just there like that, and we apply a little bit like that, and we do some here, and we'll do a little bit just there, like so, like that, and like that. And that is a fully shaded King of the Dead. So we'll just demonstrate that one more time on one of these Heralds, for example. So we're going to wash the brush from our Nuln Oil and grab some some of our Poxwalker mix, and we're just going to apply this like so over the top of the miniature until we feel like we're running out of paint. There we go. Then we're going to hop over to the Coelia Greenshade, apply that as well. Like so. Back to Poxwalker. Just throw this over the top of the shield and the back. Like that. Apply some of this over the top of that flag as well. There we go. And then wash the brush, grab that Nuln Oil, 1 brush load, and then apply some there, apply some there, there, around here, just like that. And so with that all done, there's just one colour left to apply, which is a dry brush of some white scar. And we're going to do this over the top of the entirety of the model. So with all of our ghosts now finished, including King of the Dead and stuff, we can now move on to the next part of the video. So we're going to pop all of this to one side, and we are now going to work on the 3 hunters, possibly the kind of headline here for this set of miniatures that we're painting. So we're going to be doing all 3 at the same time, and whilst we have painted Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli on the channel before, we are going to be doing slightly different variations on various different things here because, well, Games Workshop has done slightly different variations on different things here. So it's going to be another way to paint them. But these are much more high quality, high detail miniatures because these are newer plastics. And, well, what we're going to do is we're going to start with all of the cloaks now. Aragorn, and that's who we're going to kick things off with. And the colour we're going to be using first is Space Wolves Grey, and we're going to be applying this, as I mentioned, over top of all of the cloaks. However, we are also going to apply this over top of Legolas's light blue clothing that's also present on him. Just whilst we wait for that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Dark Angel's Green, and we're going to apply this over top of Aragorn's coat. So with that all applied and fully dry, what we're then going to do is take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Lahmian Medium and Black Templar. And we're going to apply this over top of the green jacket of Aragorn's coat, and we're going to apply this over top of all of their elven cloaks. So with that all done, we are now just going to focus on Aragorn, get him battle ready, and then we'll go on to the other 2. So, the colour we're going to use next is a roughly 2-part Cygor Brown to 1-part Black Templar mix. No Lahmian Medium here. And we're going to be applying this over top of Aragorn's kind of inner clothing. And with that all done, we're then going to take Cygor Brown on its own. We're going to apply this over top of his trousers, his hair, and his beard. And for everything else that isn't his skin or his metallics, we're going to take some Black Legion. I'm going to apply this over the top. So with that all done, we then take some Guilliman Flesh and we apply this over the top of his face and hands. So with that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. And we're going to apply this over the top of Anduril, Flame of the West. And we're going to apply this over the top of the Even Star, around his neck as well. And we'll also use this to pick out the sort of trim on his braces. Or Boromir's braces. And for the final base coat on Aragorn, we're going to take a little bit of Retributor armor. We're going to apply this over the top of the Brooch of Lorien. So with that all done, before we shade him any further, we're going to pop him to one side. And we're going to work on Legolas. So, this is another Legolas recipe on the channel. And as you'll notice on the box art, he is a slightly different colour once again. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some Militarum Green. And we're going to apply this over top of Legolas's green clothes. And with that all done, we then want to take some Mantis Warriors Green. And we're going to apply this over the top of this central part of the tunic. So with that now done, we're going to take some Cygor Brown. And we're going to apply this across the chest strap on Legolas and over the top of his quiver as well. And for all of Legolas's other leather, we're going to take a roughly 2 parts Cygor Brown to 1 part Black Templar mix. I'm going to apply this over the top. So this is the boots, braces, and this is also going to include the arrow shafts and his belt as well. So with that now done, what we're going to do is take some Skeleton Horde. And we're going to apply this over top of Legolas's hair, the bow, and we're going to also apply this over top of the fletchings. And so with that Skeleton Horde all applied, we're then going to take some Reikland Fleshshade. I'm going to apply this over top of his skin, and we're going to apply this over top of the bow. And with that all done, we're then going to take some Seraphim Sepia, and we're going to apply this over top of Legolas's hair and over top of his knives. all the handles of the knives. And with that Seraphim Sepia applied, we then take some Cassandora Yellow and we apply this over top of the fletchings, creating a nice bit of separation between all of our bone bits. So just like with Aragorn, with them got a couple of metallic details to do, and the colours are going to be the same. We're going to be using Iron Warriors for, well, just this tiny little arrowhead here. But for all the other remaining details, such as the trim on the quiver, we're going to be using some thinned down Retributor armour. So just like with Aragorn, before we do the shading on Legolas, I'm going to pop him to one side and we're going to work on Gimli. And well, what we're going to do for Gimli is pretty simple. We're going to take a roughly 4 parts Cygor Brown to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix, and we're going to apply this over pretty much all of the model. So all of his leather, his beard, his hair, the handle of his weapons, and so on and so forth. So with that all done and fully dry, what we're now going to do is create some variation. So we're going to start with some Berserker Bloodshade, and we're going to apply this over top of all the bits we want to have a slightly redder hue to them. This is going to be the helmet, leather, like that sort of thing. It's going to be this bit of trim down here on his body, like so. It's going to be the straps going across his gloves and his boots, and it's going to be his pauldrons as well. With that Berserker Bloodshade all applied, we then take a little bit of Black Templar and we apply this over the top of his sort of main leather to create a really nice dark brown. With that Black Templar applied, we then take some Guilliman Flesh and we apply this over top of Gimli's face. And with that all done, we then take some Reikland Fleshshade and we apply this over top of his beard and hair, boots, and his face. And so with that all done, we're now going to do his metallics, and it's the same deal as before. Iron Warriors for all the silver, and Retributor armor for all the gold. So with that all done, they're all base coated, so now it's time to do the shading. And we're going to start with some Nuln Oil. I'm going to use this to shade all the silver. Next up, for the gold on Legolas and Aragorn, we're going to use Reikland Fleshshade to shade it. For Gimli, however, to shade his gold, we're going to use Agrak Shade. So with that all done, the 3 hunters are now what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. Looking pretty good. However, we're now of course going to take them to the next level. I'm going to do this by adding some layers and some highlights. Now, first of these is actually a corrective layer because I haven't done the best job of Aragorn's elven cloak. So, to correct that, what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking some Mechanicus Standard Grey. And we're going to thin it down a little bit more than we would normally. So roughly 3 or 4 parts water. And we're going to use this as a sort of glaze to just help us correct the cloak. So with that now done, the cloak should be now looking nice and smooth. So what we're going to do is going to highlight them, but what we're also going to highlight is all of the black details. And the colour we're going to be using to do that is some thinned down Dawnstone. So with all that Dawnstone applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Administratum Grey. I'm going to use this to add some spot highlights to both the cloaks and the black details. So with all of that done, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Rack Skin. I'm going to use this to add some really sharp little highlights to his green cloak. And so just to take the edge off that Iron Rack Skin, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of Bale Tan Green. Not very much at all. We're going to apply this over the top. So with that now done, what we're going to do is take some thinned down Steel Legion Drab. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the dark brown across all 3. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Kislev Flesh. We're going to use this to effectively relayer the skin. And with that Kislever Flesh applied, before we highlight the faces, we're going to take a small amount of Black Legion. We're going to apply this over the top of their eyeballs. And with that Black Legion all applied, we then take the teensiest, tiniest little dot of Screaming Skull, and we apply this in the corners of the eyes. And so with the eyes all done, we then take some thinned down flayed one flesh, and we use this to highlight their faces. So with that all done, only Aragorn's metallics await. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to clear up a few of the other highlights that we've been doing along with Aragorn on Gimli and Legolas. But the next one is going to be some thinned down Screaming Skull. And we're going to use this to highlight his hair, the dagger handles, and the detailing on the bow. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Krieg khaki. I'm going to use this to highlight all of Legolas's green. So with that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Tuscaur fur. I'm going to use this to highlight things like, well, all of the warm brown really. So we're highlighting Gimli's axe handles. We're also going to highlight the quiver and chest strap on Legolas. And for Gimli, we're also going to highlight his pauldrons and all of this trim down here at the bottom. One thing you'll notice about Gimli's shoulder is that it's not a smooth, flat piece of sort of brassy gold. In fact, it is a bit of a scaly mail type thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to freehand that in, and we're going to use some Black Legion to do this. So with that done to the pauldron, what we're now going to do is we're going to highlight all the silver across all three of them with some thinned down Ironbreaker. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the gold. And so to finish off the 3 hunters, we're then going to take some Warp Lightning. We're going to apply this over the top of the inside bit of the brooch. So our 3 hunters are all finished. There they are. I think they look fantastic. I'm really pleased with how they've come out. So we're now going to pop these to one side. It's time to move on now to the Grey Company. Yes. So, what we've got is we've got 2 of the Dunedain and we've got 2 of the Rangers of the North. So we're going to be painting them both up more or less at the same time. There is some differences. So, for example, the cloaks over here on the Rangers of the North are different to the cloaks over here. So, what we're effectively going to do is we're going to get these to battle ready, then we're going to get these to battle ready, and then we're going to go our own way. Is what we're going to do. So we're going to start with the Rangers of the North over here. The colour we're going to be using first is Creed Camo. And we're going to be applying this over top of their sort of, well, inner jackets, as it were. Tunics. Whatever that's supposed to be. So this bit here. Like this. And of course the bit going across their chests as well. With that Creed camo applied, we're then going to take some Black Legion. And we're going to apply this over the top of their trousers, their shirts, sort of top part of the quiver. So that sort of this panel just here. And if you have some Rangers of the North who are wearing helmets, we're also going to apply this over the top of the helmet. And we're going to apply this just like this across the bottom of the mail. Just like that. With that all done, across these 2, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Space Wolves Grey and we're going to apply this over top of the cloak. And with that all done, we're then going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Black Templar and Lahmian Medium. We're going to apply this over top. And so with that all done, we're then going to take a roughly 4 parts Cygor Brown to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix. This is just to kind of improve the flow and tease that lovely warm tone out of the brown. And we're going to apply this over the top of, well, pretty much all of our remaining details. Excluding any metallics, any flesh, and the hair. Oh, and the fletchings of the arrows as well. Let's not forget those. So with that all done, our next colour is going to be some Guilliman Flesh, and we're going to apply this over top of all of their skin. And with that Guilliman Flesh will apply, we're then going to take some wildwood, and we're going to apply this over top of any hair and beards. So with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to use this over top of all of our remaining details, excluding those fletchings on the arrows. So with that silver applied, our Rangers of the North have got their base coat, so it's time to add some shades, and we're going to start with some Croak Green, and we're just going to apply this over the top of the green. And with that Croak Green applied, we then take some Reikland Fleshshade, and we apply this over top of the brown leather. And with that all done, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil, and we're going to apply this over top of the silver. So our Rangers of the North are now battle ready. So we're going to now pop them to one side. I'm going to get the Dunedain up to battle ready as well. Here they are. So, colour we're going to be using first for our Dunedain is Dark Angel's Green. We're going to be applying this over top of their, well, sort of cloaks and jackets. With that all done, whilst we don't have any shirts to apply this over, what we're going to do next is we are going to take some Black Legion and apply this over the top of their trousers and over the top of that little panel on the quivers once again. And then once again we're going to take our roughly 4 parts Cygor Brown to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix, and we're going to apply this over top of all the leather and remaining clothes and the wood and stuff. And with that all done, we once again take a little bit of Guilliman Flesh and we apply this over top of their faces. Well, and hands. And with all that Guilliman Flesh applied, we are then going to take some wildwood and we're going to apply this over top of the hair. And with that wildwood all applied, we then take some thinned down Iron Warriors. Apply this over top of all the remaining details, excluding the arrow fletchings, which I'm pretty sure I didn't mention last time when we applied Nuln Oil, but we're going to be applying Nuln Oil over the top of these silver details, but we're also going to be applying it over the top of the fletchings as well, but that's for the next clip. And as promised, we're going to take some Nuln Oil and we're going to apply this over top of the fletchings and over the top of the silver. And with that all done, we then once again take some Reikland Fleshshade and we apply this over the top of all the brown leather. So here we are then, our rangers are now all battle ready, so it's time to take them to the next level by adding a layer and some highlights, but really not very many of those. So I'm going to pop these Dunedain to one side, and for the rangers of the north, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Mechanicus Standard Grey, and we're going to use this to relayer their cloaks. So with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. I'm going to use this to highlight those grey cloaks. Next up, we're going to take a little bit of Black Legion. I'm going to apply this over top of all 4 of our Rangers' eyeballs. And with that Black Legion applied, we then take a teensy tiny little bit of Screaming Skull and we apply this in the corners of their eyeballs. And with the eyes all done, we're then going to take some thinned down flayed one flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight their skin. With that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Deepkin flesh, and we're going to use this to highlight the Creed camo, and we're going to use this to spot highlight the Dark Angel's green. And so with that all done, to finish off the Rangers and the Dunedain, we're going to take some thinned down Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this to highlight the silver. So 12 Rangers, well 6 Rangers of the North and 6 Dunedain of the North later, we are all finished for this part of the video. Here they are in all their glory, looking fantastic. Nice and simple as well. Very cool. Right, it's time to move on because our Rangers now need their captain. Well, I guess Aragorn is their captain. Their sort of interim captain, as it were. It's Halbarad. Here he is. So, we're now going to jump into him. So our first colour on him, very similar to the Rangers of the North here, so nothing really gonna sort of jump out as being too new, apart from of course that banner. Our first colour is going to be some Creed camo. And we're going to apply this over top of Halbarad's inner tunic. And then next up, we're going to take some Black Legion. We're going to apply this over the top of his trousers and his banner and his helmet. And then, same as before, we're going to take some Space Wolves Grey. We're going to apply this over the top of Halbarad's cloak. And of course, once all that Space Wolves Grey is dry, we're then going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Lahmian Medium and Black Templar. We're going to apply this over the top. With that all done, we're now going to take a roughly 4 parts Cygor Brown to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix and apply this over top of all of Halbarad's leather and wood. So with that all done, we're now going to take some wildwood and we're going to apply this over the top of Halbarad's hair. And with that all done, we then take some Guilliman Flesh and apply this over the top of his face and hands. And so with that all done, we then take some thinned down Iron Warriors and we apply this over top of all of our remaining details, excluding the detailing on the banner and the arrow, the arrow fletchings. Well, I guess ammo fletchings wouldn't be completely inaccurate. So with all that done, naturally it's time to do the shades, and we are going to once again use some Croak Green to shade the green. That Croak Green all applied, we then take some Reikland Fleshshade. We apply this, not that much, over the top of the brown leather. And with that all done, we then take some Nuln Oil. And we're going to apply this over the top of the banner and all the silver. So as ever, Halbarad is now at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. So it's time to take him to the next level. I'm going to do this by adding a layer and some highlights. And just like with the Rangers of the North, our first layer is, well, our only layer, is going to be some thinned down Mechanicus Standard Grey. I'm going to use this to relayer the cloak. However, we are going to do one extra thing here with the Mechanicus Standard Grey, and that is going to be to highlight the banner folds. There's a little couple of them. Not too many. Like those modern banners where they're all folded in on themselves. This one's pretty flat. And so with that Mechanicus Standard Grey all applied, we then take some thinned down Dawnstone once again. And we use this to highlight the cloak. And so with that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Gorax White. And we're going to use this to relayer the banner detailing. So our next stop is going to be to take a little bit of Black Legion and apply this over top of Halbarad's eyeballs. And then once again take a little teeny tiny dot of Screaming Skull and apply this in the corners of his eyes. And with the eyes all done, we then take some thinned down Flayed One Flesh and use this to highlight his skin. And with that all done, we then take that thinned down Deepkin Flesh and we're going to use this to highlight his tunic. And so with that all done, to finish off Halbarad and, well, consequently the Ranger section of this video, we're going to take some thinned down Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this to highlight all the silver. So with Halbarad all done, that means the Rangers are finished. So it's time to work on the final section, which is going to be Elladan and Elrohir. Here they are on their horses. Now you can't actually use the mounted versions, as we know, but you can use the versions on foot. But we're still going to paint the ones on horses because, well, it makes sense to just do them, right? Otherwise they'll just be sculling about for ages and we'll never get them done. So, here we go. the first colour that we're going to use is on the horses, and we're going to be using Soulblight Grey. And we're going to be applying this over the top of the entirety of the horse, excluding the nuzzle, or nose, of the horses. For this horse, what we're going to do is take a little bit of Reikland Fleshshade. I'm going to apply this over the top of the nose. And then next up, we're going to take some Nuln Oil, and we're going to apply this over the top of the mane and tail of this particular horse. But on the other horse, we're going to also apply this, well, on the other horse, we're just going to apply this over the top of the nose. And with that Nuln Oil applied for this particular horse, we're going to take some Seraphim Sepia, and we're going to apply this over the top of the mane and tail. And so with that all done, we're now going to take some Black Legion, and we're going to apply this over the top of the horse's hooves and the horse's eyeballs. Across both of them. And so with that now done, we're going to take some Gorgrunter fur, and we're going to use this over the top of the horse's tack. So this is going to be the reins and the bridle and stuff like that. So with that all done, it's going to seem like a bit of a weird skip, but we're not done with grey cloaks. What we are in fact going to do is we're going to give these two grey cloaks because they are part of the grey company, and so we're going to start with some Space Wolves grey up next. I'm going to apply this over the top of these bits that we want to be grey. Now they don't have the same sized cloak, so on this individual it's pretty much the whole thing, but on the other one it's just that bit up the top. And so, for those of you who followed our MESBG tutorials for a while, you'll remember from the last alliance what we're going to do next is we're going to take some Stormfiend, and we're going to apply this over top of all of the blue. So with all that Stormfiend applied, whilst we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to take our 1-to-1 mix of Black Templar and Lahmian Medium and apply this over the top of the now dry Space Wolves Grey. And so with that now done, we're going to apply a second layer of Stormfiend over the top of all the Stormfiend. So with that all done, we're now going to take some Cygor Brown. And we're going to apply this over quite a lot of the model. It's almost as much of it as gold. So we're applying this over top of all the remaining leather, and this is going to include the trousers, the boots, the gloves. We're going to apply this over top of their hair, and we're also going to apply this over top of the saddle and saddle blanket as well. It's just a whole lot of Cygor Brown, really. So with all that Cygor Brown applied, we're now going to take some Guilliman Flesh and we're going to apply this over top of their faces. And the one thing to bear in mind is their ears, if indeed you can see them. But just have a little hunt for them, because they might be hiding in amongst all that hair at that ear there. And with that all done, we're now going to work on the metallics. We're going to take some thinned down Retributor armor and we're going to apply this over top of all of their sort of elven plate. And we're going to apply this over top of the horse's head armor as well. As well as these little dagger sheaths. And their headgear as well. So with all that Retributor armor applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors and apply this over top of all the remaining details. So with that all done, it's now time to add some shades. So we're going to start with some Reikland Fleshshade, and we're going to apply this over top of the brown. And we're going to apply this over both the Cygor Brown and the Gorgrunter fur. With that all done, we then take some Nuln Oil and we apply this over the top of all the silver. And with that all done, we then take our roughly 3 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Black Templar mix and we apply this over top of all the gold. Just like we did with the last alliance. So with that all done, Elladan and Elrohir are now at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. So it's time to take them to the next level, and we're going to do this by adding some layers and some highlights. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking some thinned down Corax White. And we're going to use this to relayer the horses. Specifically their flesh. And just like with the Rangers, what we're going to do now is we're going to take some thinned down Mechanicus Standard Grey. I'm going to use this to relayer the cloaks that we did with the grey recipe. With that all done, again just like before, we're going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. I'm going to use this to highlight those cloaks. And then next up, I'm going to take some thinned down Hoeth Blue. I'm going to use this to highlight Well, all the blue. And with that all done, we're now going to take a teensy tiny little bit of Black Legion. I'm going to apply this over top of all of the eyeballs. And naturally, of course, with that all done, we're then going to take a teensy tiny little dot of Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this in the corners of the horses' eyeballs and, of course, the riders. Of course, with the eyes now all done, it's time to take some thinned down flayed one flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight their faces. So with that all done, it's time to work on the metallics. We're going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. I'm going to use this to highlight, well, funnily enough, all the gold. And so, with that all done, it is now time to finish off the great painting of the Grey Company and the return of the King. And we're going to take some thinned down Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the silver. And there we have it. At long last, this video is finally ready to come out. It's been sat in the backlog for a very, very long time, but I've really, really enjoyed putting it together. And, well, we now have two functional lists. We have the Grey Company and we have the Return of the King. You can currently see the Grey Company on screen, but the Return of the King with the Army of the Dead will be coming up very shortly in this roundup. Usually when I'm doing the thanking you stage.
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.